The Lion King land coming to Disney Adventure World will soon be the next big thing to happen to the Disneyland Paris Resort following the opening of the major expansion next year with Frozen, Adventure Way, and more. In our last video, we went through the whole expansion with special footage from the skies, noticing a few interesting things regarding Lion King, such as the area the land will be built on and the construction of the testing location. This week, unannounced, the construction permits that were filed less than 4 months ago were granted, not only giving Disney the green light to get started on construction, but also giving us public access to the blueprints Disney filed back in April, showcasing in incredible detail the land and the very impressive ride. Like many, I've spent a long time examining everything in these permits, and while they're far from being the whole story, they give us confirmations and new information we didn't have before. We'll start with the land and the outside of the attraction before diving into the ginormous show building and end with speculation regarding where iconic scenes from the movie will go. With this, let's jump into the blueprints. Before we begin, I am happy to announce that the Main Street News is now on Patreon. If you like my content and want to get even more, this is the perfect opportunity to join us there. With 3 different tiers, each with fun and exclusive perks, there's something for everyone. You can also join for free to get a special notification every time I publish a new video and other updates regarding the Main Street News. Also, I'm incredibly excited to announce that I'll be launching a merchandise store with designs not only inspired by the channel, but also the many worlds of the Disney parks. Make sure to keep an eye out for when it goes live later this week over on shop.themainstreetnews.com. Well, let's go right back into the video. Let's start with the land. The shores around Adventure Bay will tell many tales. The moment you enter the park, right in front of you and across Adventure Way and the water lies Arendelle, the world of Frozen. However, as beautiful as that area of the park will be, our focus today is on what can be seen to the left. With 2 entrances from the lake area, the Pride Lands, which is not the official name as of yet, will rise from the ground at a staggering 37 meters, with Pride Rock overlooking it all. This will clash incredibly with the snowy peaks of the North Mountain, creating a very special location. A few renderings were created for the filing of the permits, but before displaying them, it's important to understand that these show the least possible amount of theming and decorations as possible. These are not created for the public to see, but for the local government to examine and accept. In France, these are thankfully made public by law, which gives us a better understanding of the additions to the parks. So keep in mind that this is just the bare bones of the area. This view is from the second entrance and provides a great idea of how the Lion King will look like from the lake area. We can see Pride Rock and the large drop, Rafiki's home tree, the entrance to the attraction behind it, a clearing to the right, and behind it a themed building. The paths will all be very similar to this, but will feature many other decorations as can be seen in the concept art released back in April. If we go to one of my favorite blueprints of the bunch, the layout of the entire land becomes quite clear. The 2 entrances into the land will work together to help the flow of guests, something that Frozen does not have. The area itself is also larger and with many twists and turns. We can see 2 smaller buildings in front of the attraction. One is a toilet block. This is the building we saw earlier. The other one, located more in the back of the land, will be a food kiosk with a large terrace. I don't think it's fair to call it a kiosk because it'll be more like a quick service restaurant, featuring 2 windows and a large themed covered terrace, coming in at 307 square meters. That is a larger floor space than Casey's Corner, for example. This rendering showcases this restaurant location with the two windows to the left and the themed terrace to the right. Entertainment is very important in the Disney parks, and Disneyland Paris takes it seriously too. While there is no meet and greet location like in Arendelle or Avengers Campus, the Lion King has a few spots built that, in my opinion, could very well be utilized in that way. On the emptier and savanna-like side of the area, there are two locations I think are strong contenders for character meet and greets. The first one right as you enter the land, and the second closer to the outside part of the ride after the drop. They have some shelter with trees that could easily be adapted for something similar to how you can meet Rafiki in the Disneyland park, something I would assume will pass over to Adventure World. I could also see some pop-up stores appearing either of these locations. Now, the third I think is reserved for something larger. On the blueprints, there's something that looks like a small stage of sorts, right in front of Rafiki's tree, and with direct backstage access. Could this be a small stage show with Rafiki and some other characters? It's impossible to say for sure, but I think that it could be a great small addition to add something more to this side of the park. Other elements that are worth noting outside before going into the ride are a stroller parking, which is interesting because of the more thrilling side of the ride and could point to there being a smaller height requirement than some expected, me included, a small part of the queue that goes outside, and two large backstage entrances on the end of the land. Let's finally talk about this ride, an attraction that could become many people's #1 in the whole resort. First of all, size. This show building will be the largest one in Disneyland Paris, coming in at nearly 13,000 square meters. Compare that to the current largest one, that is Pirates of the Caribbean, that comes in at less than 10,000 square meters. And you can start to imagine just how absolutely huge this is. But the best part is that it has a total of 4 stories. Although only the first and second floors take up the entire area, the third and even more fourth take only a small part. But even so, there's a lot of room to play with. Like most newer rides in the Disney parks, there are 3 different queue lines. The standard queue is the longest and used by most guests. Then there's the single rider queue, which fills the spots left by the standard queues in the ride vehicles. And then you have the Fast Pass or Premier Access and Reduced Mobility queue. This very large queue space appears to be themed to caves under Pride Rock, reminding me of Fantasy Springs' Peter Pan ride. It might be similar in theming. The 3 lines go up the stairs into the middle of the loading area, whereas the low mobility guests go to their own queue. Now, this is a very interesting area that gives me so much joy. There are a total of 5 different loading and unloading stations in this ride, a ridiculous amount and more than I think has ever been used in the parks. This means that a total of 4 different boats may be boarding at the same time, creating an outstanding hourly capacity. Now, 4 of these stations are in the main area, and the 5th can be seen more in the back. This is for the low mobility guests and their families. It's clear Imagineering is taking what they've learned over the years with other rides such as Pirates of the Caribbean and applying those lessons right here. Now, as you get familiarized with the ride layout, I'll also be speculating what the scenes will be showcasing, because a boat ride through nothingness doesn't sound that appealing. Once boats are filled, they may then move on to what in the blueprints is marked as Scene 03, with a left turn into the lift hill. Now, in Tokyo's Frozen, the ride starts with the trolls telling the story of the 2 sisters. I think we could see something similar here with Rafiki telling the introduction of the story of Simba. The boats then start making their way up, and following the movie, I think that this scene should be the Circle of Life. all the animals making their way to Pride Rock with us by their side. We pass through the second floor all the way up to the third, where the lift comes to an end. Scene 04 begins. These three next scenes aren't very long, and finding out what goes where isn't easy. But I would say that once the boats get off the lift, we pass through I Can't Wait to Be King, this being scene 4. In between scenes we can see that they're physically separated. This will allow for sound to be more easily controlled. In these two transitions from scene 4 to 5 and from 5 to 6, there also appears to be a door or some kind of barrier that then opens up. Most newer boat rides Disney has built have these, like the one next door with Frozen Ever After. After I Can't Wait to Be King could come Be Prepared. It's important to show Scar, and Be Prepared absolutely needs to be in this ride. Now on scene 06, the first of the 3 drops approaches. I think this first drop needs to be Mufasa's death, and that would make scene 6 the Stampede. The drop itself is marked as scene 07, and as we look up to see Scar betray his brother, the drop appears, bringing the boats down 1 floor. As the boats start slowing down, we're on the desert, but on scene 08 and now on the second level of the building, they then take a sharp 180-degree turn and into a very long corridor. This that then could transform from the desert into a very large and lush jungle for the Hakuna Matata scene with Timon and Pumbaa. We've seen this specific moment on 2 occasions. First, in this concept art Disney released some months ago, and in an Imagineering behind the scenes video, giving us a look at how tall these sets could be, especially since in these blueprints, these scenes could take up 2 floors. In the middle there's a transition and separation, and scene 09 begins. This that could perhaps be when Simba is now grown, which would lead to Can You Feel the Love Tonight, where Nala tells Simba what has happened to their home. Scene 10 sees the boats take a sharp turn once more into scene 11. And I would say that this could be when Rafiki leads Simba to see Mufasa in the sky. This will also be a very tall scene, and with the curvature of the walls, I would assume that this is a large projection dome, the perfect way to portray this iconic part of the movie. This that then leads the boats to yet another drop, marked as scene 12. Now, once more on the first floor, the same as the loading area, we return to the Pride Lands and see all the lifeless vegetation and sad look of what was once a gorgeous savanna. The boats make their way to scene 14, where Simba confronts Scar, leading to the incredibly long second lift hill, also marked as scene 15. Now, this scene could be one of the longest in the ride, and I think that it has to be the battle for Pride Rock, which will be happening all around us. The boats are now going up all 3 floors, up to the 4th one, and with the light at the end of the tunnel inching closer, so is the largest 16-meter tall drop. Once we reach the top, Scar is defeated, sending the boats plunging down Pride Rock and into the outdoor section of the ride. While it's not written anywhere, I assume that the drop and subsequent short outdoor sections are scenes 16 and 17, because the boats then return to the show building and to scene 18. This gives the ride a buffer zone for people to calm down after that large drop. And as the boats go back inside, scene 18 comes into view. This that might just be the largest room of the whole ride, being the great finale of this great attraction. It's easy to assume that this would be the final Circle of Life scene where Simba is now a father, completing the story. A smaller scene 19 comes right before going back to the loading and unloading area. This could be a simple goodbye scene from either Rafiki or with Timon and Pumbaa doing what Timon and Pumbaa do best. Once guests leave the boats, they go to the stairs and down to leave through the nicely sized store, which has become a staple of the Disney parks and will play an important role here. So that's what I think the ride could be like, while also understanding its layout. It's clear that this will be a major addition to the resort and truly put Disney Adventure World on the map worldwide with such a beloved IP. With this being the next generation of flume rides, I could see it having a special system to control the speed of the boats. This would bring a whole other level of precision to how the scenes are played and how guests see them. This would explain the reason behind the construction of the testing location, but hopefully as it comes to an end, we'll get a confirmation on what the ride system will be like. There are still many questions to be answered, but these permits have given us an outstanding idea of how the Lion King will be like once it opens. It's also quite interesting to see how fast the permits were granted, being so in less than 4 months, whereas they should have taken upwards of 6. Could it be that Disney wants to fast-track this construction like they've seemed to have done in the other parks, especially like Disney California Adventure and Animal Kingdom? I don't expect construction to commence in the next few days, since crews are still working on getting Frozen and the rest of the expansion ready to open next year. But in a month or two, I think we'll be able to see more than just dirt in the location where the Pride Rock will emerge. And now I ask you, what's your opinion on all this brand new information regarding the Lion King? Do you think I got all the scenes right, or would you change any? Let me know down below. Don't forget our store will soon be online and to check our Patreon, all links in the description below. And now, as always, thank you for watching, and that's a wrap.